Okay, now I can talk about one-to-many relationships. So I will create an entity called posts entity, and I will link it to the user's entity via one-to-many relationship. So one user has many posts, and each post belongs to one user. Uh, to do this, I will use decorators and put them into the two classes inside the posts and the entity classes. And each decorator inside each class will reference the other class. Okay, maybe when I talk about it, it sounds confusing, but maybe in code it will make much sense. So inside our entities, I'll create the posts dot entity to TypeScript, and I can just I can just start. Okay, so copy import from TypeORM the entity, the primary generated column, the column decorator, and this is for now, and import from the shared property helper, the shared prop. Okay, so export class the posts entity, and this should extend the shared prop. So this, if you remember, will just add the created, updated out. Okay, so the first column will be the primary generated column and its ID of type number, and I will decorate the class with the entity decorator and pass a name, posts. So by default this will be the posts entity in the database, lowercase, and to override this you just pass configurations here. There's a lot of them actually. Oops. If you go here, if you click control then click on entity, now the entity options, you can read about them here, or just Google that, you can read it in the GitHub. And the second column will be called body of type string. So usually the body of the post will be very long, so by default it will be just varchar, so I can override this by adding a type text, so this will accept more bytes than the varchar, very more than the varchar by a huge amount. And now nullable to false. Okay, now we can start to define the relation. So I will import a decorator called ManyToOne, and I will use it here. So add this decorator, and the property name will be user of type user entity. And this ManyToOne accepts a couple of arguments. The first one is the other class that should have a relationship with this class by this property. So that class would be the user entity. You can pass it like this as a string, or if you have a much more complex setup, you can just pass it. You can use a callback function and pass the class itself, not a string. The second argument is a callback function which accepts user of type user entity, and this return user.posts. So this is what I was talking about. The decorator will reference always the other class, so this referencing that. And the second argument is how we should access the relationship from the other class. So for each user, if we access the posts property, we will get the posts for that user we accessed on, right? So but this gives us an error, so we need to implement we need to add the posts property here. We will do that in a second, but we can just continue adding these options. So the third one is a couple of it's just a configuration. So we have on delete, on update, we have all of these. We have this lazy and eager. I think if you are doing a lot of if you are using a huge number of data, or you have a huge number of data, you should read about the lazy and the eager. Maybe I will cover them. I am planning to do the CRUD thing using the ORM. Maybe I'll do them, but you should definitely read about this. Okay, so the most important things is the on delete and on update. I won't put them in the posts because it does not make sense to me. I will put them in the user. But basically this is the starting point. And what this will do, I think, yeah, this will basically create a column called user, this column with ID like this. So we'll have a column named user ID. This is a foreign key referencing the user entity or the users table. But I don't like this name. So there is a way to override this by using the join column decorator. Like this, add join column. So this is used to specify a custom column name in the join. So I'll put this as a comment here for you. And you just pass an object called pass an object with the name property called user underscore ID. So now the foreign key will be named like this, not like this. Okay, but we need to put some decorators in the other side. But before I do this, this is the way I like to read this relationship. So many, I will look into the decorator that defines the relationship and read the first part. So this entity, so many posts belongs to one user, like this. I think this is maybe a good way to read them. And remember, you can't just do this. Depends on how you want to do it. Okay, now in the users entity, we need to use, so since we used here ManyToOne, we need to flip that. So OneToMany, right? So one user have many posts. Okay, so OneToMany, and at the end, so at OneToMany, the first argument will be the posts entity itself, maybe as a string. The second one will be the post of type post entity, and this should return the post.user. Remember, in a raw function, if you don't have a body, just a single line, this will be an explicit return. Just remember that. And now these options, the on delete cascade and on update cascade. So if you delete it or update the user, the reflection will happen in the relationship. But now the name of the property would be like the same one we defined here, so posts, and this will be an array of posts entity, right? So I think that's pretty much it, and we can just test that now. But before this, remember, we need to export it inside our index.typescript here. So export from posts like this, posts entity, the post entity, and inside our app.typescript we can import them like here. This is what I was talking about in the previous video. So every entity would be imported from this path, which is very clean if you ask me, and I like this. Actually, I got this using Redux, so this is one of the things I usually do when I use Redux. I'm not sure why, honestly, but it's nice. It's just shorter. Also, there is something that I can't remember what is named. Maybe here you can put it, but it will just shorten every path, so you can from anywhere from your project add maybe models. Maybe I will do a video about this, and this will be always referencing this file from anywhere from your application, which is nice. But anyway, just forget about that. So now I imported the post entity into our app.ts. I need to put it inside our entities array. Looks like I already did that. And that's pretty much it. So npm run ts node app.ts, and that should create our relation between the user and the post if there is no errors. Okay, we have the posts, we have the user is the same. Now the posts should have the user ID. which is referencing this user. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Let me just go one more time and just explain it again. Maybe that will make more sense. So many post entities belongs to one user entity, like OneToMany. No, sorry. From this perspective, it's many posts belong to one user. You can read it like this. And the way we access these posts from the user by accessing the posts property on each user, we define this here. And using the join column, we override the name of the foreign key to user ID instead of the user ID camel case. So this is the snake case. And yeah, so basically ManyToOne will create this foreign key in this table, referencing this table you passed here, which by the way you can also pass here a string like this, and this should be the name of the class, not the name of the table. Okay, so if you have different name here, should be here also as well. This is why I prefer the callback function. I hate when strings are this. I hate when the same string exists everywhere. I need to change it. I don't like that. Okay, so and from the other part, the user entity. So one user have many posts, and the way we access the user that created that post is by writing post.user. So on each post we have, and that's pretty much it. So remember, each creator just referencing the other class, as you can see. And that's it. Maybe I will do after this video I'll do some CRUD one-to-many, basic CRUD, and how we can use the one-to-many relationship in our CRUD, how we can actually retrieve the data with the relationship and stuff like that.